The following is a story of male to female transitioner who has been robbed of transgender joy due to botched sex change surgery. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
I am male to female transitioner, very happy living as my authentic self. I know without any doubt that transition was right. I am as close to binary female as one could imagine. Surgery fixed some major hormone issues. Testosterone blockers did not work for me, and for that, I am thankful. But I am extremely unhappy with the results from surgery. Specifically, sensation I hoped I would have is not there. The nerves that were kept appear to have regained all sensation, but the nerves that gave the most pleasure just don't seem to exist. The appearance is terrible as well. I very clearly have a surgically created vagina, and before anyone says all cis vaginas are different, I have seen many vaginas in real life. I have seen all different sizes, shapes, styles, and, well, this is so different than anything I've ever seen before, and that has been validated by others who have seen pictures. So, aesthetically it's shit. It's pretty non-functional. Even with regular dilation, it would be unpleasant to have sex if I could find someone who could stomach the appearance. Surgery was a terrible error, and my mental state is deteriorating as a result. All of the joy I have from a successful social transition and finally living life authentic has been completely destroyed by a butcher. How do I get over this?
Here are some of the responses to the post. The link to the original post will be pinned in the comment section down below.
Yup, this is real. I've been there. I'm at a 1.5 years post-op now, and I still have ups and downs. Some days I'm fine with my results. Some days they're a real source of anguish for me. Over time, I'm finding ways of maximizing the good feelings and coping with the bad ones, but it's work. Things that help me, and that might help you. As sad as I am that I don't have the perfect designer vagina of my dreams, I'd still choose my quirky, non-standard vag over a penis any day. Like you, I assumed that anyone who slept with me would find it repulsive. But actually, nope, my partners think it's hot. The ones I've asked have admitted it doesn't look like a CIS vagina. They just don't care. I'm finding ways of having sex that work for me. This is a super slow process. If you'd asked me 9 months after surgery, I'd have been like, I've tried everything and nothing worked. And I feel like at a 1.5 years, I'm finally just barely starting to get my bearings. Sometimes something doesn't work the first few times and then works eventually. Bodies are weird. Also, there's lots of different ways of having sex. Being penetrated by something penis-sized is not fun for me. I guess if that was a deal-breaker for someone, then he wouldn't be the right partner for me. But for all the cultural messages saying that real sex is taking a dick and everything else is foreplay, there's a squillion different kinds of real sex. And there are a lot of people in the world who get that. Remember, we're at the same level of getting to know our bodies sexually that cisgender girls are at when they're 14. A lot of cisgender girls haven't figured out what feels good at that age. This shit takes time. Forgive yourself for being inexperienced, just like you'd want a teenage girl's first boyfriend partner to forgive her for being inexperienced. An online friend who had surgery around the same time as I did said something that really stuck with me. She talked about taking the things that bothered her about her new junk, the swelling, the shape, and trying to reframe them as positive, affectionate, cozy things by thinking about a small, warm, fluffy bird. I've been trying to do that too sometimes. For me, the image that works is a fuzzy, curled-up little kitten. And I think one reason that works is that if you have a kitten, you don't care if it looks funny. Nobody gets all anguished that their kitten isn't a designer supermodel kitten. It's still a kitten, and it still deserves snuggles and affection, even if it has 3 legs and a lazy eye. I've found that making a conscious effort to think affectionate, snuggly kitten-type thoughts about my vagina makes it easier to do the other stuff, the figuring out how to use it for sex and the adjusting to the idea of other people seeing it, and the forgiving myself for being inexperienced.
Thanks. I do often forget that things are still changing. I'm at 7 months and see no hope in sight. But this does help. I think one of the hardest parts is that before surgery, I had no problem finding partners if I was looking. I dated cis lesbians and trans lesbians. None of them cared what was between my legs, and we made it work. Suddenly, none of them seemed to have any interest. My trans girlfriend has never experienced a vagina at all, and frankly seems repulsed by it, but that's another story. To a certain extent, I subscribe to the "this is my vagina. There are many like it, but this one is mine" approach. But I can also only take so much "are you sure your kitten is alive?" It looks like roadkill commentary too. But that first part about being there at 9 months and just getting the feel for it at 18, that I can relate to, and have echoed exactly that to people just starting transition. So thank you.
Oh, geez, yeah, 7 months is early. You're still healing, physically and emotionally. And if your partner is acting repulsed by your body or saying shitty things about its appearance, then that's her shit that she needs to work on. Regardless of what your surgical results are, you deserve better than that.
From what I've heard, typically it's about 12 months in or more that your body is healed, but the process of healing will continue on for even longer. Right now, there'll still be swelling, the slow process of nerve reconnection and so on. Scars, if present, will also fade over time. Same as how hormone replacement therapy doesn't really tend to get going until after several months to a year. Your body is healing from a major surgery. That takes a lot of time. Though surgeons say you can start trying sex around 3 months post-op, for a lot of people it takes a year for it to get good for them. In time, some of the issues you have described may improve. Revision may also be an option in the future if there's still things you want to tweak, and that might also help. Give it longer to heal first though, 3.
I think my frustration is that I can touch every part of my anatomy and feel it, so the nerves are all working, at least the ones that are there. I have no points or patches where I have lack of sensation, but the areas that used to feel good are gone entirely, and the ones that didn't matter are the ones with remaining nerves. I do get that much can still change. I keep hoping for the best. But for now, this sucks. Really bad. I guess I also just wanted to share so people know it's not always roses. I was so excited as most people are, and it was a serious letdown beyond any expectation.
Also, and forgive my ignorance, I'm not 100% sure myself on how this all works yet, but I seem to recall reading that hormones also affect how your body decides how to heal and grow out your new vagina. If you were having problems with them pre-surgery, it could be your levels are still now adjusting. And as mentioned, those take a while all on their own.
I've always had issues with testosterone. My estrogen levels were great regardless, and I was able to have full-on girlgasms, etc. So nerve patterns did a lot of remapping, how I had sex, pleasure changed and I adapted. Now my T is under control, my E is still strong, things are healing very well, or healed, according to my gynecologist. I see her today, actually. I know how long change can take from hormones. The funny thing is, I'm one who routinely says, this is a slow process. Even at a year on hormones, unless things are balanced, you aren't really getting the full effect. Give it time.
Totally sympathize there. Everyone around me is all like, take your time, and I'm like, I'm not going to be full conversion overnight. But then the internal monologue is all, let's just get this the fuck over with, I ain't getting any younger. I want my vagina and my lesbian girlfriend and my boobs, and I want them yesterday, damn it.
I was on hormones for 2.5 years before coming out and going full-time. 5 years for surgery. It's a slow process, and I'm old. I did appreciate the time to explore my changes and learn to love and respect all aspects of my authentic gender. I wonder why I can't bring myself to do the same with my genitals.
God, I recognize this. When I had surgery, I was definitely like, fuck, I already relearned how to have sex twice. Once when I started estrogen and spirolactone, once after my bilateral orchiectomy, when my testosterone levels were finally fully controlled, and now I'm supposed to relearn this shit again. One thought though, if your T levels were on the high side before and are now very low, It's not surprising you're having more trouble orgasming than you ever did before. That could be 100% hormonal and not due to any nerve damage or anything like that. And if the nerves are still there, then you've got options, including, if you decide you want to pursue this, low-level T supplements. If your T levels are below CIS female normal and it's causing you sexual issues, you can get on a low dosage of T gel to help fix that.
For anyone who is watching this unfold and is still early in transition, the thought of taking tea much have them baffled, haha. But that may be where I end up. I will ask for a blood test this afternoon at my gynecologist appointment and see where we sit and the options. Good suggestion.
Do you mind telling us who did your sex reassignment surgery?
I shared it elsewhere in the post. My intention is not to give him a bad name. There are risks with every surgery. I just had the bad luck on this one.
Depressingly, I'd add that under patriarchy, a lot of cisgender women don't ever figure it out what feels good, period. No encouragement to explore. Lousy-ass dates. Politeness. The way that all our cultural ideas of good sex generally describe sex which is optimized for male pleasure. It's definitely a learning curve, and I wish sex ed was there for women in a better way.
You can probably get some cosmetic surgery done to fix up its aesthetics at least. As for pleasure, you should still have a prostate, unless your surgeon was a total hack. From what I've read, it's pretty easy to stimulate that from the neovaginal canal. Sorta goes hand in hand with dilating, I suppose. Who was the surgeon you went to?
I am sure I can get some revision surgery for the aesthetics. Surgery was already hell. I don't really want to go through that again, plus the cost, etc. I am pretty sure I have to go this route, however. I do still have a prostate. That was never in jeopardy. But that also never brought me much pleasure. I certainly get zero pleasure from dilation. It's a painful, long, and frustrating process. I'm down to once a day, but it's still a nuisance and unpleasant to do. Physically, there is nothing wrong with it, so it's not that. I have a gyno who specializes in trans patients and everything looks fine from her perspective. My surgery was done in Montreal. I had seen other work, and it looked good. Not necessarily cisgender-level vagina, but still quite good. I was able to see, touch, explore his work in person the night before surgery even, and if my results were even half as good, I would have been happy. But it's not, and of course this creates a huge mental barrier that is ruining any chance I have of getting any enjoyment. It really sucks.
Dilation isn't fun for anyone. Please don't judge your quality of life by how much fun the worst part is. You deserve better.
Lol, it's maintenance. I get that. The comment was that I might feel the prostate during dilation, and I don't. Dilation is a serious pain in the ass. Pain in the vagina. But it's something that has to happen, and gets better as time goes on. I don't use this as a guide for how crappy things are. It's just one more thing that piles on, but it's not the end of the world. Speaking of, it's about that time.
I never found dilating pleasant, even when I went deeper. Just tedious and awkward. That said, if you aren't feeling any pressure when you dilate, you are absolutely still healing and still have numb patches.
No, there's a lot of sensation when I dilate, just not even remotely the nerves I expected. For instance, most of the sensation I do get seems to be nerves that I had around my testicles, and I never got joy. In fact, it was painfully unpleasant to have my testicles played with. And now that's the dominant sensations. I'm going to take a day and just do nothing but relax and explore and see what happens. Hoping for the best?
May I ask how long ago you had your surgery? It took me well over a year to get all my sensation back, and even after that, it was maybe 6 years before I learned to orgasm again, mostly because I got frustrated during that first year and sort of gave up, assuming it was just gone forever. I could never afford to go back for the second stage of the 2-stage operation either, so it looks a little, non-standard. I can say that the appearance has never bothered any of my partners as much as it bothered me. They've all seemed pretty happy with it, and so it doesn't really bother me anymore. If the appearance really bothers you, there are lots of surgeons who will do revision work once you finish healing. Not knowing how long it's been, though, I wouldn't point you at anyone. What helped me was picking up the Good Vibrations Guide to Sex. It's really comprehensive, and one of the company founders is a trans woman, so the guide ended up being way more helpful for me than I realized it would be. It also helped a lot to figure out what nerves were still good. The whole damn apparatus just works differently now, and it took a ton of experimenting and playing around to figure everything out. I don't get much of a thrill from clitoral stimulation, but there's a lovely little spot about an inch inside and at the roof that is just electric for me now that everything's healed, but I need to target it pretty specifically.
I'm 7 months. So as others have said, I'm impatient. There's lots of healing time left before I should worry about anything. My surgery was a one-step, so they say, but there's no inner labia, no defined, well, anything. It's just a mess. The lovely peach area that usually surrounds everything is there, but small, and the area it covers has nothing. It's like that part is a couple of inches above where anything else is. Experience with cis women has a clit somewhere in there at the top of the slit. If I have one, it's way further south than it should be. Just everything is wrong. I don't even know that there's revision surgery that would help without making things far worse. I'll check out the Good Vibrations Guide. That sounds encouraging. There is one single spot on the outside area that does have some pleasant feeling to it, but it's off to one side and just isn't positioned in a way that will ever get stimulation unless I'm focusing on just that, and it's so out of place that mentally I can't get over it. Yet. Someday, I hope.
You're not sure if you have a clit? You may still have some weird swelling issues going on. Sometimes build or old blood can pool in the tissues, making it puffy and weird for months after surgery like this. And if time doesn't help, there absolutely are revision surgeries. Marcy Bowers in San Francisco specializes in repairing and tweaking vaginas. She also apparently does a very nice single-step procedure. A friend saw her early last year and is really happy with her results. As for sensitivity, it does sound like your nerves are still healing. A lot of finding what works just involves time and patience, with a nice setting and lots of lube. Go in expecting to explore instead of trying to get off, and pay attention to where you touch inside and out and how it feels. Does rubbing feel good? Flicking? Pinching? Does light touch feel better or heavy pressure? Don't worry about vibrators or toys yet, just you and your fingers. I started making headway when I started lying on my stomach with a few pillows under my hips to change how I had access to everything and the kind of pressure I could use. It'll take some time, and you might not be ready just yet, but I have no doubt you'll find great ways to pleasure yourself.
I guess I'm expecting something even remotely resembling a cisgender clitoris. Something that is accessible. I'm sure I have one, probably hidden well beneath the skin, probably somewhere that I'll never see it again. There is a spot that might be it, but I have to use so much force to put any pressure on it that I'm sure I'll put my finger right through the skin. And it's not a good feeling in the slightest, but it's the only thing I can assume might be the clit. I'll check back in another 6 months. Things may be different then.
I have a pretty similar story, down to the surgeon, though I wouldn't say that I lost as much sensation as you, from the sound of it. I mean, my sensation is certainly reduced from what it was before, but it's not all gone and I can still orgasm. I'm effectively asexual as a result of it. I don't know. I try to focus on the benefits of the surgery, and I try to put the negatives out of my mind. It would have been nice to be able to have a sex organ that I can actually have sex with for the first time in my life, but I suppose some things are just not meant to be. I'm sorry.
I was perma-horny. I had an amazing sex life and enjoyed it to the fullest. I haven't had an orgasm since before surgery, and have lost all desire to interact with my vagina. I'm effectively asexual now, too.
I've heard it takes a couple of years to fully redevelop sensation patterns. This is my worst nightmare. I am sending you love, sis.
Thanks. The bad part is, I can feel everything in the area. Everything I touch has sensation. The parts I want to have the sensation from don't exist anymore. This is definitely a problem with a cookie-cutter solution. I never had great sensation at the tip, but that was apparently kept. The parts where I did don't seem to exist anywhere, and I've explored, hoping that someday I'll find out that I'm wrong and everything is there. Just slow to respond, I guess.
This article from Vogue discusses a trans woman who was unable to climax for 2 years after sex reassignment surgery. The location of sensation before the surgery may be an important factor. I really have no idea. Another thing that I have heard is it really depends who you are with. Don't give up on your new life. I would also say aesthetics be damned. The dice roll, and we all have to play with what we have. Give it time, sweetheart. I know you will find something that will make it work for you.
The conversation with my doctor beforehand was hilarious because it's sort of customized, Nomi said. She asked me, "What are you looking to achieve? Like, are you a lesbian? Are you interested in being penetrated? Is it more important to focus on the nerve endings in your clit? Or do you want a lot of depth? Or do you want both?" I was like, I want it all. Go for gold. So I went to the wrong surgeon, clearly. I can tell you that this discussion never happened. He is a one-trick pony, cookie-cutter factory solution. It works or it doesn't, but it's certainly not customized for anyone. Thanks. I think one major hang-up is that personally, I wouldn't be eager to go anywhere near a vagina like mine. But then again, if I was already with the right person, I would make it work. I've never met genitals I didn't like until now.
I'm really sorry this happened to you. I recently applied for sex change surgery with Brassard, and I really hope things go well. I don't even expect that much out of the result at this point. I just don't want to die from complications.
I don't know if there is any advice I can give that is going to make it better, but if I was into someone, I could care less what things looked like downstairs. And as far as sensation, maybe you can try refraining how you think about it. Many women after having babies lose a lot of sensation downstairs. While you didn't have a baby, you did bring a new bit of life into yourself.
I'm sure a lot of it is mental because I'm unhappy with the results. I used to have amazing girlgasms before surgery. My sensations were already remapped. I had to change everything I knew about sexual pleasure just from the hormones. But now, nothing. And when I do get aroused, which is rare, and I try to deal with it, I end up frustrated and depressed about it. I'm sure I'll break the mental block at some point, but right now this situation sucks.
I wouldn't necessarily say that surgery was an error, especially since, despite the things that went wrong, there was some benefit, fixing hormone levels. Surgery went badly in ways you could not have predicted, and you've been disfigured, lost sexual function and confidence. The same consequences could come from a car accident, and that would not mean driving was a mistake. A lot of people who lose sexual function due to an accident, like you have, a botched surgery is an accident, need to change the way they relate to sex, becoming more focused on their partner's pleasure and/or more focused on non-genital erogenous zones. Many people who lose a lot more than you have end up recovering healthy sex lives, and you will get there as well.
The difference is, with a car accident, it's exactly that. An accident. You went about a daily routine and something bad happened. I made a conscious choice to do this, and I'm suffering as a result. I know that changing the way I relate to sex will help, but frankly, nobody has any interest in what I have to offer anymore. Lesbians don't want it. I wouldn't. I no longer fit into the criteria chasers are looking for. Penis. And regular Joe straight cisgender male is in the same position as the lesbians. Mentally, it's a block I need to get over. I just have no idea how to start.
I disagree that there is a difference. Yes, you walked into surgery voluntarily, but you could not possibly know the results would not be what you expected. You said that you saw Brassard's work right before, and it looked good, so you had no reason to think that your results would not be what you hoped for. I'd say the same thing applies with a car accident, because even if you willingly take the wheel, you can't reasonably expect shit to go wrong.
Every surgeon is going to make you sign your life away. You still expect them to do a good job. Signing the paper isn't designed to be a license for them to be careless. Also, I should note that literally you sign the papers less than an hour before surgery. You've already flown out to the destination, spent the night prepping, taken the taxi to the hospital and been admitted. Then you sign the paper and they take you in and do the work. All the while it's simply, sure there are risks, but I've done thousands of these and never have problems.
Talking to a therapist would probably help. I'd also suggest having a consultation for a vulva revision by a good surgeon. Do you mind telling us who did your surgery? That way at least others in the community can learn from your experience.
Broussard. He doesn't have a reputation for pretty vaginas, but this is far worse than I expected. It was paid for, though, so it seemed like a good option. I will have to pay for revisions, though, unless someone knows if a revision can be claimed as medically necessary on insurance in New York.
Thanks for that. I thought Broussard was supposed to be good. I'm so sorry this happened to you. I'd think you will likely have to pay out of pocket for a revision, unless you went back to Broussard. And you probably don't want him working on you again, right?
He wouldn't anyway. Unless there is a major problem like a bleed-out, he won't do revisions. Even then, he won't do anything to fix it unless forced. If you search, you will find lots of bad stories. Oddly, people I know from before I had mine were extremely happy. I know lots of people from after my surgery that had complications, some life-threatening. So something has happened there and it's not good.
To be fair, you will always hear about the most horrible stories more than the happy stories. Broussard does hundreds of surgeries every year, and you are bound to fall somewhere in the statistics, good or bad. I know many people personally who are happy with their results with him, and I've also heard of bad stories like what happened to Avery here.
Broussard is the only surgeon mentioned here, by name, on a regular basis, in reference to really bad surgical work. If he's doing as many as you say, he should really slow down a little. How many Dr. Saporn horror stories have you read in the last 6 months?
One from Saporn, which is as many as I've heard from Broussard. I don't spend my time looking for other people's stories, so maybe there's that. Relatives who have had surgery had great results in Montreal, and I live there, so I know quite a few. Like I said, you're more likely to hear about the bad stories than the good.
I know many people with great results from him. It's why I wasn't worried at all about the surgery and had high hopes. Since then, my own experience and others I knew previously or met through the process have also experienced some serious issues and complications. It seems to be far more prevalent than anyone cares to admit. But again, there are lots of great results too. I just don't think the consistency is there anymore. I know multiple people firsthand that had significant complications, though they are doing well now. I think one of the things other surgeons tend to do better is actual consultations. Literally, the first time I met the surgeon was the morning of surgery for about 30 seconds. When I was there, Broussard did 4 surgeries a day, and he was done by 3-4 p.m. We were like a cattle. The only reason there weren't more done is because of lack of space. So he's expanding the farm. If you are in Ontario, you do not go to him. There are other options, like McGinn. I know Bowers was trying to get on the list and certainly could if someone pushed. I can't remember the choices off the top of my head, but there are quite a number that are already established for full funding.
The original poster since has vanished from Reddit. I hope they found strength to live on and found a way to have girlgasms after what has been done to their genitals. Just a reminder, this video simply voices over the Reddit post and some of the responses and is not meant to be used as medical advice.